In Module 2, Lesson 8, we're going to divide fractions and mixed numbers. So the difference between our previous lessons and this lesson is that now we are going to work with mixed numbers. In starting example 1, let's read it through and then decide what we're starting with. Carly has 4.5 walls left to paint in order for all the bedrooms in her house to have the same paint color. However, she has used almost all of her paint and only has 5/6 of a gallon left. How much paint can she use on each wall in order to have enough to paint the remaining walls? There are several clues that tell us what number we need to start with. The first one is they tell us that she has used almost all of her paint and only has 5/6 of a gallon left. Knowing something about painting should tell us that the amount of paint we have is what we're starting with and the thing that has to be divided. We certainly would not divide walls by paint because that doesn't make any sense. So although this number 4.5 walls is much larger than 5/6, we know that we can't do it that way because the paint is the item that needs to be divided among the walls, not the walls divided among the paint. That being said, let's write our initial problem, 5/6 divided by 4.5. Continuing on, we are going to have to change 4.5 into an improper fraction. Because as we think back to all that we've done with division, we have to recall that when we divided a whole number, we had to put it over 1. It had to become an improper fraction because we could not divide with a number that was not a fraction. So then we need to take 4.5 and we need to turn it into an improper fraction as well. The only way to turn a mixed number into an improper fraction is to find out how many parts you have in the whole number and then add those parts to the fractional part that you already have. That can be done on a number line if you're not quite sure yet, or there is a standard algorithm for that as well, which is multiply 4 times the denominator and then add your numerator. So if we go with that, what we find is 5/6 and 4.5 as an improper fraction would be 9/2. At this point, once we have two fractions, we can follow the same rules that we've been following for a while now of dividing fractions, which means that we'll change it to multiplication and we will flip or find the reciprocal of the second fraction, which is 2/9. Finally, we'll multiply the numerators, 5 times 2, multiply the denominators, 6 times 9, which is 54. And then we should always simplify a fraction if we can. And both 10 and 54 are even numbers, so they're divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 54 divided by 2 is 27. So our final answer is 5/27. She has 5/27 of a gallon for each of the 4.5 walls. Question B gives us different numbers, but we're still calculating the quotient. So a little more practice. 2/5 divided by 3 4/7 would be 2/5 divided by 3 4/7, which we need to write as an improper fraction. If we multiply the whole number times the denominator, 3 times 7 is 21, and then add the numerator, 21 plus 4 would be 25. That will be our numerator for our improper fraction. The denominator for the improper fraction remains the same as the original fraction, so the denominator will be 7. Once we've done that conversion, we need to rewrite our problem as multiplication. 2/5 times the reciprocal of 25/7, which is 7/25. And then we will multiply numerators. 2 times 7 is 14. Multiply the denominators. 5 times 25 is 125. And since 14 125ths can't be simplified, there's no number that both those two numbers can be divided by, our final answer is 14 125ths. At this point in the classroom, there's a memory game that will be played, and this is a good way for you to have a little fun while you're practicing the concept. And then further practice can be found in the problem set so that we're ready to move on to lesson 9.